Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is excited to announce our newest partner, Luminous Labs. Luminous Labs is the leading provider of architectural visualizations for developers, homeowners, architects, and more. Luminous Labs has a team of experienced designers and visualizers using cutting-edge technology to bring your 3D renderings to life. Using these architectural visualizations will give you a sense of scale, space, and design, allowing you to make informed decisions about your projects before construction even begins. These high-end architectural visualizations are a perfect tool for presentations, marketing materials, and design reviews, allowing you to communicate your vision to stakeholders, clients, and more. We'd like to thank our co-branded partner, Procore Technology. Procore Technologies is the global leader in construction management software. We look forward to having many guests from across the country from all different capacities under the Procore partnership umbrella. We'd like to thank our formal partner, Payzant Building Products. Payzant has a 60,000 square foot facilitation center currently underway, as well as acquired a new location in Windsor. Lots of change and big news with Payzant, and we look forward to having them back on the podcast in the near future. Okay, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Unique episode today, one of many that we'll have with our partners, Freeman Financial under the IG brand. So we have Peter Freeman and Aaron Dressler with us today. Gentlemen, great to be with you today. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for hosting us.
So we're excited to dive into your motive to reach the construction industry, whether that's contractors, business owners of consulting firms, architecture, engineering, again, contractors of all kind, suppliers, business owners, right, that are at a certain level, small, medium, large, certain size businesses that need help with all kinds of their financial needs and decisions, and you're managing wealth. So before we get into more details, maybe we could just start with an introduction. Maybe we can start with you, Peter. Just a little background on yourself, and then we'll go to Aaron and just sort of what you guys are all about, but how you got to this point.
Yeah, so I'm from Halifax, born and raised. Went to school here, like most everybody, and joined the firm IG Wealth about 24 years ago. So we initially I worked with colleagues of mine. I used to be in the retail Sobeys marketplace, and during that time we started working with that group as well as a lot of business owners. So now we're spending more time with our business owner clients now, and we've been very busy in that marketplace, which we love. Thank you. Nice.
Yeah. And yourself?
For myself, I'm a transplanted Nova Scotian. Came from Ontario, moved here 24 years ago. I've been in financial services now for 30 years. Did my rounds at a few of the banks, all sorts of roles, everything from loans officer, training officer, compliance manager. Switched over to IG 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Where it was building a practice. I was in management for the first 7 years at IG Wealth. And then it was, for the last 8 years, it's been focusing on the practice. It's focusing on clients. So, my entire career, or at least the last half of my career, has been focused almost exclusively on people who are either entering retirement or already retired.
Right.
So
well, for our listeners, I mean, that's you say entering retirement or already retired, but this is a journey of years and years of planning, right? To sort of do it right, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. It's not a one-time event. It's something where you plan to retire.
Well, I'll just put that off till I'm,
Yeah.
I don't want to worry about that yet, but it's not in the world of finance planning and wealth management.
No, you know what? The earlier you can plan for these things, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. And you said you have a lot of military clients, or you had in the past, or you do currently.
Yeah. You know what? When
so what's your tie with the military?
Living in Dartmouth, right near Shearwater.
Okay.
I have a lot of military friends.
Yeah.
And I started having a lot of military clients even when I was working at the bank. And many of them followed me. And it just became something of interest. Like I really started learning about what the military members were going through. They have their own financial planning
as far
unit
as their pension.
called CSIP, and the benefits, the defaults that were in the CSIP plan. what their pension plans look like. For many military members, they got into the military when they were 18, 19, 20. They're retiring before they're 50. And they're going, what do I do with my life?
Right. And so no part of the DVA that would help them kind of with that, or?
Part of it. Like, I was doing financial planning seminars at the MFRC, the Family Resource Center. So we were talking to family members, and it was both the member and their spouses a lot of the time.
Right.
So they would understand what's going on as well. So it became something of interest. I was involved with a boot camp that would happen at Dalhousie, where they were helping military members who were leaving the military to start businesses. So the boot camp had 20, 25 people in it each year.
So almost a way to adjust back into
adjusting back to
the
civilian
other part
life.
Of the world. Yeah, civilian life.
And military members are good with structure, but there's other parts that they need help with.
Their whole life is organized around such a high level of structure.
Exactly. So there's other parts that they needed help with, which are things like sales, marketing. How do you differentiate yourself? They're used to being part of a unit. Now it's how do I make sense of my own identity, my own business, and get it to grow?
It reminds me a lot of friends or stories I've heard of professional athletes when they retire and they have an identity crisis, and it's like a 5 to 7 year shift of their mentality. If they don't get into broadcasting or something, stay in the industry, but who am I now? My identity's been tied up in this.
We find it like with a typical retiree, we'll find that as well. Like a lot of people, their identity is wrapped around what their job title was. Their social network is wrapped around the people at work. Yeah. As soon as they leave, it's like, who am I? Who wants to talk to me? All of a sudden, all those friends at work, they're not talking to me anymore.
Yeah, every layer of their social, psychological, it's all.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Peter? You got 2 kids? 3?
Yeah, 2 boys, 15 and 17, and they're entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah.
So they have their own little businesses.
They're taken after their.
Yeah, it's a family. It runs in the family.
Because you tell us about your time with Sobeys. I mean, that's a big name around Atlantic Canada. Just about your time working there and what it's meant to you. And
everybody starts somewhere. But in high school in Halifax, I was looking for a job, so I picked up a job at the local Sobeys store, and then I really got to know the manager well and understand all the aspects of the business. And when I ended up in finance and management at St. Mary's University, everything came together. And I said, gee, look, I work for a great company. I get to see the inner workings of it, apply that to what I'm learning in school. And I really liked the Sobey family and the way they did things and the various businesses they ran. And it was very exciting to be part of that group and work through the retail and work up the ladder a bit. And then after 10 years, I realized I wanted to work with individuals and money. That's finance. So that's why I left Sobeys to join the firm, which I have, and here we are today.
Right.
So
nice. And I've heard that you've got some hobbies around the building things. Lots of different things on the go. This is from your partner in crime here, Aaron.
Yeah, I do have a bobcat with a little excavator, and I'm a weekend warrior, so I
always picking away at something, right?
Always building.
I find when you're on the business end and you don't get to work with your hands as much. I think a lot of our listeners will maybe be able to relate. We're in an industry where it's very blue collar, but if you're not able to kind of use, it's something therapeutic about just getting out, and whether it's if you're into woodworking, building the coffee table, or working on the car, or whatever it might be, just to get that kind of, I don't know if it's an affirmation there that you got to get when you don't get it when you're not building things. So
everybody has to have an outlet. And,
that's right.
We find that too with our clientele is when people retire, there's a lot of apprehension about what's next. And we spend a lot of time
fear
on that.
Even,
and some of our business owner clients, they really don't retire. They don't have anything that they know they can focus on. So, when you build a very successful business, you've put your life into it, put your heart and soul. It's some cases it's
like
your
a
family.
child that you've nurtured. Yeah.
That's right. So it's a massive transition for business owners to even consider and think and plan. But the sooner they plan, the more successful those plans become.
So if we're going to break down, say, the pillars of what you would provide as Freeman Financial, Peter Freeman, Aaron Dressler, you are under the IG brand. You're flying your own flag. This is a local company. This is a local touch. For our listeners that might be potential clients or that would be looking for a lot of help in this area, is it succession planning for retirement, pension? What are if you were to kind of sum it up, or is it just anything you need we can help with?
No, good question. Like,
because people are going to think, a lot of times we have these discussions and, it's a financial management. It's what exactly specifically?
Sure. So, the challenge that we'll face is that for a lot of people, when they hear financial advisor, all they think about is investments, and they miss all the other things that we do. Whether it's talking to them about
RSPs, and mutual funds.
Yeah. So exactly, they'll think it's just mutual funds, it's just RSPs. We'll talk to people about tax planning, cash flow planning, retirement planning, estate planning, the risk analysis. Like there's all sorts of other areas that we're going to focus on to help them. We've often thought of ourselves as a connector for a lot of our clients to the resources that they need. If it's something that we don't do, we'll find other places that can help them. But, we do a lot to get people, I will say, from one stage of life to another stage of life, in a way that is the most comfortable for them.
So it's unique for every individual. They have specific needs.
Definitely.
They're not thinking about succession planning. Let's not focus on that. It's more investing and pension for their business. And then their personal finance is where they're at.
Exactly. So, we'll deal with different business owners and, we go through a process, and first meeting, a lot of times it's getting to know about them. What are their goals? What are their likes? What are the things that they're looking for?
Like a first date.
It's like a first date, and then it's like troubleshooting. It's saying, okay, what are the things that you've done well? It's almost like doing a SWOT analysis for their business.
Right.
What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Where do we see some things that should be changed? We'll often talk to not only the business owner, but it could be their accountant, their lawyer, about making some changes for them because, we'll spot something that doesn't look right or, and no fault of the accountant or lawyer. It could be something that was done perfectly 10 years ago. It's just, it's outdated now, and things have changed and they should be making some changes because what was put in place 10 years ago doesn't make sense anymore. So we'll see that, and then, we'll look at all aspects of what they want to do, so, and then it's multiple appointments over multiple years, even, to do a lot of this.
Like, I need to talk to a financial advisor, go talk to one and everything's fine.
Yeah. It's not a one-time thing.
Long-term, exactly. Some of your clients you've had for 20 years.
Exactly.
More.
Oh yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It's,
a lifetime.
Peter's been at IG now 24 years. And like I said, I've been in the industry 30, and we've had clients who have been with us over 20 years, and it's lifetime relationships. We've taken on their kids as clients, we've got some of the grandkids as clients, and it's the biggest thing that those clients are looking for is how do I pass on the wealth to the next generation? And, I want to make sure my family's okay. And what's the structure of the best way to do this? And
so that trust is also like penetrating to further generations, even in your career, in your lifetime of your career.
Yeah. We have a lot of clients even who we started working with to start planning for retirement who were, say, early 50s, they're 55, whatever. They're introducing us to their parents because they want to make sure that the parents are doing everything right for estate planning purposes and everything else too. And they're worried about what their parents are doing. And, with a lot of, I'll say, senior scams and everything else that are out there, they want to make sure that, their parents are protected. So they want to have a second opinion that everything that their parents are doing is correct. And, we've had those introductions. So, so when it comes to business owners, it's an extra layer on top of what you normally see from the personal side, because from a business owner perspective, it's, what's happening with their family, how do I pass on things to their children, grandchildren,
Right.
etc. But it's often, how do I support my management team? How do I support the other employees? There's a whole bunch of
Right.
people
It's
that are
complex.
involved.
It
It's
can be
far more complex.
Yeah.
When it comes to succession planning. And, a lot of business owners, we already mentioned that, the business is their baby and
Yeah.
they want to take care of it.
So is it suffice to say that if you're helping a business owner with their business, at the same time, you're helping them with their personal finances as well? Or it's not like, I have a client here, but this one, we just help with their business, their personal finances was elsewhere. It's all usually the same.
It's usually the same. The business is their personal stuff. Exactly. It runs over. Even
most
when
of the time. Yeah.
Even when we're doing, like when we're using our financial planning software, it has everything that combines their personal and their business side of it all in one software. So they can see what happens if they make changes to the business of passing money to the personal side. Whether it's taking dividends, salary, etc. How does it impact both sides of the equation and such?
Yeah.
So we often are, almost always, I would say, dealing with both sides. I can't think of situations where it's only the business and not the personal side.
Yeah, we find a lot of our business owner clients, most of them come to us by referral. So they have a good understanding what we do. Some of the business owners that we meet who, they look us up online, they find us, they sort of have an expectation that we have to diffuse. So we usually, that first meeting, as Aaron said, we've spoken to people for as long as 10, 12, 14 years just to get to know them, because they say, well, I'm going to sell my business in 5 years or 10 years. Well, you want to have that relationship now. So we have many people we talk to who, they're there to consult us, but they get to know us. And some people call us their dream team because we have that relationship. Like we've never done business. They've never written a check for us. We've never charged them anything. We've dropped in to see them once a year. How's your business going? How's family? How you doing? And it's building up that relationship and that trust. Because when a business owner sells their business, most times all of their assets are in that business. Sure, maybe they own their own home and they have a cottage or a few cars or something. But a lot of times their retirement is locked up in that business. And it's a scary time. A lot of people work longer than they probably need to, because they don't understand or they're too busy in their business. They're almost afraid to consider retirement because their business has provided them with a steady paycheck and they don't have the investment experience to say, oh yeah, I'm comfortable to sell my business and give someone my money, and I'm comfortable that they're going to give us the income that we need when we retire. So we build that relationship, we build that trust, and we educate folks and say, look, these are your options when the time comes, right? And it's not as money numbers, orientated as some people might think. It's really the relationship side. Now we have all the planning software. We have university degrees in business. I mean, we understand all that stuff, but a lot of those details are brought up between the accountant, tax lawyer, estate lawyer. Like, we can hammer those details out. But most of our clients are really not that interested in the numbers. They're interested in, can I retire? Who's going to care for me? What happens if something goes wrong? If I get sick, if I die, are the loans paid? Does my business transition? Who's going to run my business? Will a competitor gobble it up? Like, all these concerns, we've seen them. We've worked through them. And if there's things that people need to know, just ask us. That's what we're here. We're here to educate people. And, one of our clients, often sends us a lot of referrals. And I said, why do you keep sending us all these people? Like, every few weeks, someone's calling and asking questions to us. And he said, well, you always make me feel good about the decisions I've made. Like, I've made a lot of big decisions in my life and consulted you on them, you and Aaron, and they've always been good. I've never felt bad about those decisions. But even though I didn't fully understand them at the time, you guys pointed out the things that were important that I needed to know to make those decisions. So we're educators. That's what we like to do.
Yeah. I want to try and come at this from a devil's advocate and kind of play, the role that I can play is that in my background is, growing a business in contracting and kind of being immersed in that industry of, it's fast paced, it's all consuming. You've got employees, you've got any number of things you got to deal with. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, I'll use that term so it's specific, that could be a contractor, could be an owner of a building supply store, it could be any number of things, right? But you're running a ship, so to say. And I think a lot of the mentality, and I'm trying to be specific to the construction industry, but there'd be a lot of overlap to any industry, where on that side of things, I felt less than competent on the financial end, where there's this feeling like, oh, if I own a business or if I'm involved in management, then I need to know everything about finance, and I don't. In fact, I don't know near enough. But that isn't true. You shouldn't know everything, and you can't. And you're often the personality type that is out there creating business in the construction and contracting world. I mean, your head is full of opportunities, and you're navigating opportunities, and you're picking the best one, and then you're creating a system that works so you can provide material and labor and whatever else. I mean, but you're not supposed to know necessarily what to do with all the profit that's made or that isn't made when you have those problems, because making money is a problem that needs to be solved, right? So I think there's a mentality out there of, and there's a stronghold it's kind of you got to break through for some of these people. It's like, maybe I've had bad experiences, or I got to trust these people with my money. So why you guys? Why you, as opposed to whether it's IG or a bank, a financial advisor from RBC or Toronto Dominion or some other financial intermediary? Like, why?
Yeah.
Right? Because eventually I got to hand that over and say, I need you guys to take care of this for me.
One of the main things that I think our clients can relate to is the fact that Aaron and I are business owners. Freeman Financial is a company that I have. Freeman Group is incorporated. We are just like everybody else out there. So we are business owners. We face the same things everyone else does. What are we going to do when we retire? Yeah. We have succession plan. We have a great succession plan. But I think a lot of people need to realize that if you run a successful business, it is never, ever because you know everything about everything. The most successful business owners know everything about what they do every day. And that's only a small part of the wheel. And when I mean a small part of the wheel, a lot of
you don't mean unimportant. You mean that's just one part.
That's right.
Right.
And exactly. And a lot of our business owners will say, once we get to meet them and know them quite well, they say, gee, I don't really need to worry about the financial side anymore. You've confirmed with me that my accountant is doing everything right. We had to make some changes with the lawyer, but that was great. She was happy with that, and everything came together, and we just never really had the time to talk to her about it, but you guys brought that to the forefront. So a lot of our business owner clients thank us, which, it seems obvious to us, but they thank us because they're so engrossed and so focused on what's flying at them every moment of the day that they think there's these other things that are probably out of control, or that they don't have a very, they don't really understand it that well, or they don't know enough about it. Yeah. So we basically, we're that connection point. We're the financial quarterback. And we say, okay, look, this is something that you need to do before the end of the next quarter. Don't worry about anything else. Your accountant's going to look after that. Your lawyer will do that. So, and if some business owners don't have those folks, we can introduce those relationships. So we can recommend people that they can work with that are suited to their industry or their specific type of work. And if they have people that they're already working with, we're more than happy to get to know them. And we know quite a few of them around the city anyway. So,
yeah.
But again, business owners have to remember, if they're running a successful business, it's because they're doing the right things.
We've often, I've used this analogy with different business owners at times. It's like, there's all sorts of service providers that you've used in the past. You have an accountant because you don't want to be an accountant yourself. You have a lawyer because, again, you don't want to go through law yourself. You have a dentist, you have a doctor.
Right.
You trust those professionals because they're experienced in their roles. We're just another one of those. We're experienced in our role. We're not expecting you to know everything about finance. We expect you to know everything about your business, not necessarily our business. We're going to try to educate you on as many things as possible, but it's impossible for you to know everything about our business. It'd be like saying you should know everything about being a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer. It doesn't make sense. So focus on your business. That's what's going to, that's what you're made of. We're made out of the financial side. This is how we're going to help you.
Yeah, because even further to that, you're going to see in our industry, and I'm going to talk about it more from like a subcontractor perspective, where you could be in landscaping, or you could be in building envelope, roofing, cladding, could be interiors, could be drywall, could be millwork, could be flooring. Like there's companies doing millions and millions of dollars of revenue, right? The owners came from the job site. They know the work, they know the business, they know the pulse, they know how to get to work and make money. That's who they are. Right. They're people, right? They have vision, they got the drive and the grind. So they, when they think of accountants, lawyers, these different people in the structure of a corporate enterprise, they're thinking of bookkeeping, and accounting. So where do you fit in? It's understanding financial engineering, and then, what do I need a lawyer for? What do I need a financial advisor for? What's my accountant for? Like there's a lot of things there that you're not talking about people that came through an MBA or a business degree, or, are really kind of paying attention to what these different pieces mean when it comes to, managing a business and money. They're, like you said, they're part of so there's a hesitation. I think it could be threat. There's a level of threat there. There's a level of mistrust. There's a level of even, who are these guys in the suits and ties coming to me, tell me what to do with my money. This is what will happen in the process
in their
of
mind. Yeah. Like even call it the education process. Like I know Peter's done this too, is sit down with some people and say, here is the role of your accountant or a good bookkeeper, or depending on what you need for your business. Here is what a lawyer should be doing for you. And here's what we do.
And sometimes these people who are outsourced or who are coming to see them once every month to do the books are not doing what they're supposed to be doing for them.
And that's the education. It's saying, for your business, this is what you need from that role. Like we are not going to be your bookkeeper. This is what a bookkeeper is going to be doing. This is what your accountant's going to be doing for you.
Because bookkeeping and making credit and debit entries is a lot different than telling someone what to do at the end of the year with the amount of profit they have, if they should pay cash for something or save this or donate to this for tax reasons. Like that's all
completely different mindset of what our roles are. So we'll often work with those other professionals, and we'll often say, isn't it great you have a team of people around you, that could be helping your business, so that everybody has their function and we're all looking at that for your behalf. Like we're all trying to optimize what we do to make your life easier. That's what we really try to focus on.
Like successful business owners are people who are really good at the one thing that their business, and that's what they focus on. And then other people are placed in the positions where they're the experts at those. And that takes a level of humility to do that.
We look at it.
So a lot of us want to be good at
everything.
Things we're not good at, especially things we're not good at. We wish we were.
We look at it at our own practice. We're running a business and we talk about roles within our business. We have a few administrative staff, and Peter and I, we could spend our day doing paperwork. That's not the best function for us. The best function for us is going out, talking to clients, educating clients. We've got an admin team, and we'll talk about, is one person on our admin team's role, is it to make sure our clients are booked for regular meetings? Is it another person's role to do all the administrative paperwork?
Yeah.
Is it another person's role to make sure our website is up and social media and events that we host and things like that people are invited to? So we'll make sure people have an idea of what their roles are. And, in a business, in construction and such, it's the same thing. You're not doing everything. You've hired people to do certain things within your business.
Yeah. Which is why a startup is so difficult.
Oh, you're the jack of all trades.
Depending on your capital, whatever, you got to wear all the different hats
exactly.
for at least the first.
One of the things that I would say kind of makes both of us unique, where we're coming from too, is both of our parents own businesses. We grew up as kids seeing what our parents went through as struggles and what it took day to day, the long hours, the sacrifice at times, the struggles and all of that. It's in our DNA, because, we grew up like that. And, our parents had different businesses.
DNA and it's in your spirit too. That's the reason they call it the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah,
it's more than just, it's ingrained. You don't have a choice if it's there. We'd like to welcome our newest partner here at AC Media, the Freeman Group. Freeman Group Financial works closely with business owners, professionals, and retirees as their primary custodial wealth manager. The Freeman Group is targeting contractors and people in the construction industry as they move forward. The Freeman Group is a great choice for all your financial wealth management with a local touch. We look forward to having the Freeman Group on our podcast several times throughout the next 12 months with specific financial educational episodes. Soublier Trinity is Atlantic Canada's newest drywall and interiors contractor. Soublier Trinity is a joint effort between Trinity Energy Group, local Division 7 experts for over 17 years in Atlantic Canada, and Soublier Constructors, a highly reputable commercial interiors company based in Ottawa since 1986. Soublier Trinity has been performing work on commercial projects throughout Atlantic Canada this year, while planning for more growth in the years to come. We'd like to thank our partner, Pivot Accounting. If you're a contractor or small to medium-sized business owner in the construction industry and are looking to outsource your payroll, accounting services, and financial needs, Pivot Accounting is a great option.
Exactly. Like growing up, I think both of us always thought it may not be that we go into our parents' business, but we always thought we're going to be running something. Like we're going to be involved in some type of entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah.
We just, it's our DNA, it's just, how we operate, more than anything else.
What are you thinking? A lot of things.
Aaron and I are, I was going to say we're mutually exclusive, but we're certainly, we think the same way, which is great. And another thing is I've realized in my career, for me to be as successful as I wanted to be, I needed to be in a partnership. So Aaron and I joined partnership in late 2018. And it's amazing because we complement each other. So I've said this for years to clients. I've said, you need a complementary team. And I understand. I can say I understand it so well now because I've met Aaron. I've had some different partners over the years in the business, but Aaron really, we know what each other's thinking, and it's exciting. And that's why we really love business owners because, like I said, we are business owners. We work together, and we recognize that I don't know everything. There's things that I don't know, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know everything. I learn something every day. What I don't know, Aaron knows. And if Aaron's not sure about something, he'll flip me a text or a message, and I'll jump right back, and I've got the answer. And if I don't have the answer, I'll tell him. I'll say, Aaron, you know what? It's been 3 years since I've had that question asked to me, and some things change. So let me talk to one of our accountants, and let's just double check that. So it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of fun at work. We have a lot of fun with our clients, and we do a lot of social stuff too. So we get to know people on a personal basis, and I think that's crucial. We have a vest. We don't do well unless you do well. Our clients have to do well for us to excel and succeed. So to see them succeed, we're not paid salaries. We don't charge people by the hour. It's a different process that we derive. But it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So if you're benefiting, if a business owner client of ours is doing well, the better they do, the better we do. So we have a vested interest. So if we can recommend people, we're always pointing things out to clients. Have you considered this? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. And it's a holistic approach, right?
Exactly.
You're getting to know the client personal, business wise, all their unique issues that might be this much, this level of complexity but you're solving problems and you're both wanting to get the win, right? It's a joint effort. It's a team.
There are many times that there's a business owner, and the business owners know perfectly well, we don't know the business as well as they do. Definitely. They are the experts. They've been running their business 20, 25, 30 years. But they'll use us as a sounding board. they'll say, guys, we trust you. I was thinking of doing this. What do you think? And for some business owners, the only person like that they could rely on before was their lawyer or their accountant. Mm-hmm. Now they go, okay, there's also you guys. What do you think in terms of going this route?
Right. Yeah.
And we get those types of questions from time to time. And again, we'll say, like, we're not the expert in your business, but what you're saying makes sense. Or
financially it does or doesn't.
Yeah. Or you know what? Your idea sounds great. Where do you want to bring it as the next stage, and then the next stage, and then the next stage?
It's kind of like the CEO or the quote unquote visionary, going to his accountant or his chief financial officer and saying, "Hey, do we have the money to do this?" And it's like, "No, we don't.
Yeah,
we can't do that."
Yeah, exactly.
Or I don't like it, but we do. Or whatever.
Oh, exactly. So sometimes we've been put in that role, and again, they like using us as a sounding board. Just for sometimes it's just life issues more than anything else.
Well, money is a life issue for everyone. It's part of our existence in this.
Yeah. We learn a lot about families. Obviously, it's confidential and such, but like the concerns that they have about what's going on with their children, potentially with their partners, with whatever else, and it
all plays in.
It all plays in, and it's on their mind.
It's pretty intimate.
And we'll talk to them about it because it's like, okay, what's top of mind for you? And sometimes it's not stuff about their business. It's something else that's going on.
Right.
So let's get it out there. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
And so again, like a lot of times in business, when you're a business owner, it's people that you're dealing with. It's, whatever the service might be or the product, it's people that you're in contact with, and that really is what your business is. So you end up being somewhat of a counselor, to some degree. We all have to be.
We wear many hats, counselor, psychologist.
We all need a little bit of counseling. We all have to do a bit of counseling.
Yeah. We've said it many times. We're the jack of all trades of hats, sometimes what we wear of, sometimes we have to be the enforcer on different things. Sometimes it's the sounding board. Sometimes it's the psychologist. Sometimes it's, it's all sorts of different things that encompass the role.
Yeah. So if for our listeners right now that are, followers of Atlantic Construction Podcast and Atlantic Construction Media, what would be not necessarily a target client or the optimal client for you both or Freeman Financial to take on or to engage with? Is it a contractor that's doing 20 million in revenue, say, in whatever capacity, whether that's a civil contractor or maybe a smaller GC, or a consulting firm? Like what level are we? Or it's like, we can help anyone from any size, or who's going to get the most value? Let's talk a little bit about that on that front.
Good question. So because we're an established practice, we have the luxury of not having to go out and sell something. Like, we don't have sales quotas or targets. We're in this business from now on out to simply help people. So we will talk to any business owner or entrepreneur that's looking for some guidance, let's say. But I mean, and the reason we do that is because it's a small area. Everybody knows everybody. So we want to try to help as many people as we can. Now, realistically, not everyone's going to become our client, and most people may not even need our service. They may say, well, you guys, I can see where we're going to be butting heads right now. You're helping me figure things out, or, you're going to give me some troubleshooting or some things like that right now. But maybe down the road when you sell your business, like, that's when you become a client. But initially you can run things by us, or you can reach out to us and we can say to you, you know what, this is a question for a chartered business evaluator. And we happen to know two in the area, and which one would you like to call? So we're kind of a sounding board. So a lot of times, again, we don't want people, thinking, yes, we only deal with clients with $1 million and over
this bracket.
Yeah. Sure. Most of our clients, that are coming on now are selling businesses, and those businesses are producing, north of $1 million in investable assets. But everybody has to get there. Okay. So If people in our listeners have questions, and they aspire to be there or they want to be there, then it doesn't hurt to call us. We're not going to charge anything. We can give you a little bit of free advice and kind of, push you along in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want to do. We live in Atlantic Canada. We want to see Atlantic Canada do well. And we recognize that not everybody is there. Not everybody says, okay, guys, going to sell my business next week. I have a check for $25 million. Well, I don't know what to do about it. That needs to be a confident decision. That decision takes years to make. So yes, we have some people that we've met 6 months later, they've sold their business, but they've come on referral. They've come on referral from an accountant or a lawyer, or someone that says, look, these guys are, they have a vested interest in how well you do. Like, you want to talk to them. That's great for us. And that's an easy, way to meet people, an easy client to pick up. But we want to earn that client. Like, we want to earn, ethically, we want to earn that business. So that's why we're willing to talk to pretty much anyone who, needs a little bit of guidance and just doesn't know, just may think they have a silly question. I mean, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've got a really dumb question or a silly question. We haven't heard one yet. I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting 24 years and I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, when you asked the question, I was trying to think, who gets the most value from our services? And I would say, because we're so used to dealing with
people's children who aren't born yet.
Yeah, people's children, definitely. They get the most value, for sure. But, we sit there and we have a lot of clients that are retired or about to retire. And we find those are the clients that usually have the questions that mean the most. They're thinking about the next generation or 2 generations down. They have complicated issues. They understand that they need to talk to somebody to answer their questions because they don't know the answers. And they may not believe their accountant or their lawyer is the best person for that. So those are the people who look out and say,
and they're probably not the best person for that.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, we've had some clients that have gone through health issues. Their accountant and lawyer aren't necessarily providing insurance protection for them. They're definitely not, but they need to ask us questions about, how do I protect my management team? I want to make sure they're stable, or if something happens to one of them, I need to replace them. And where's the funding coming from? It's those types of questions that they're going to ask us, and to get value from those types of conversations, just to say, how do I keep the business running even if somebody is now out of the picture, because of illness or death or whatever else. Like, when it comes to the actual succession side, all sorts of tax questions come up. And that's where we'll get in a room with the accountants and we'll actually figure it out. And we may bring in even head office resources to say, here's an optimal approach to the succession of your business. Whether it's how you're going to split up the shares, how you're going to sell the business, are you selling assets, are you selling the shares, etc. Yeah. So, those are the people who typically will get the most value from us.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of, like, the thing about under the umbrella of construction, right? It's especially for us where, we have guests on who are in the residential space. We have most of our guests that come from the ICI world, meaning industrial, institutional, retail, commercial construction, right? So, it's so broad. On one end of the spectrum, you've got a supplier of heavy civil, machinery, and then on the other end you've got a small architect, and then you have a GC that maybe not many people know about, but they're doing all kinds of builds under $5 million across rural Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. And then you've got your big players and developers in the downtown core of Halifax, and you've got Newfoundland, PEI, New Brunswick. You've got, like, there's so many different businesses under that. I don't know what most people think when they think construction. Do they think a guy, with a tool belt on building a home? Probably is what a lot of people think of.
No, I mean, it's a massive sector. Like we know this. We know on average, it's estimated that 60 to 70% of businesses are going to go through some type of succession or close down, unfortunately, over the next decade. And
Right.
there's a
and that
massive
probably more so within the construction sector with the
Yeah.
stats that we see on the labor shortage, where
Exactly.
certain people will be retiring. What are we doing to bring new apprentices in? But it's also the same thing with owners.
exactly.
They're in the next 5 to 10 years. It's succession planning that should be underway if it's not, or already has been. Right?
Exactly. But when we had when we have some clients who are teachers, for example, and if they're teachers, they're prompted to attend a retirement seminar anywhere from 3 to 5 years before they retire. And we kind of have that same type of approach
So
with
that's
business owners.
That's a rational approach.
Saying 3 to 5 years before you even sell the business, you should be doing a hard look with a professional on what to expect. It's both on the financial side and the psychological side of retirement, so that you're actually prepared to go. So those, like I said, of people who get the most value, it may not be a specific segment of the construction industry, but I would say for many of it's broad based, amongst the industry of those type of people who are ready to go 3 to 5 years beforehand, that really need to have a conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm just comparing it to any number, any one of the past 65 guests we've had on the Atlantic Construction podcast, which is B2B. I mean, it's anything from Atlantic management of national, multinational corporations to a local paving company recently from New Brunswick, or a general contractor. So I also think there's a lot of people that are coming to my mind as we're talking that are just in my circle here within the local area of, they're doing between 2-5 million in revenue. They're probably, hopefully making 5 to 10% margin, enable them to keep going every year. And they're all subcontractors. It's cladding, it's civil, it's painting, it's all kinds of different scopes of work as a subcontractor. Right? So there's a lot of those individuals in my mind, because they've improved from the type of business where it's a mom and pop shop, or they've taken over its next generation, but some of them are still on the job sites a little bit. Then they're in their truck, then they're invoicing in the evenings, and they're doing well. They're doing millions in revenue. But there's not a whole lot of structure. There's not a whole lot of back, and they're just totally immersed in it.
They're full out.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people in that space that could really benefit from whatever's holding them back from getting in touch and sitting with people like yourselves up to this point.
Sometimes they'll blame it on lack of time because they're so busy, but
really the answer to that is you're too busy not to
exactly
to do it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's a priority, you sit down with someone. It's the type of thing saying, you started as a mom and pop operation. There was 2 or 3 employees. You've grown to 25 employees. You've gone through transitions in your business. It's become more complicated.
Well, it's like navigating life sometimes. You got to know where you're at and to know what the next decision is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we'll sit down with them for, a cup of coffee and have these conversations, and it's to ground them, just to say, what's important to you?
Yeah.
We can say on average, certain clients and what we face, there are some commonalities that we usually come up with. A lot of business owners do want to give back, for example. They want to give to their community. Part of it's beyond them at some stage. So
you're impacting the community as a whole. You're also doing something positive for their taxes at that certain time with a specific situation they're in.
Exactly. So, we do see some of those common factors. So we'll start having discussions with them of, and I've said it of, how do you protect your staff? How do you protect your children? How do you give back to the community? Both Peter and I are involved in different events where we've done things where we're giving back to the community, and we're involved in community events, and we sponsor things and such, because we want to see Nova Scotia as a better place.
Yeah.
And we see that from business owners far more than your typical employee. Business owners control more, and they have the resources more to do more within the community, and we want to help support that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just coming up with some strategies where we can magnify those those benefits and those donations. So again, a lot of people, we try to remind them, don't worry so much about the numbers. Like, that's our job. We'll talk to the accountant, we can figure that out. It's the concept, it's the dream, it's the goal. Those are little bigger things. But we say to somebody, what if you were to be more charitable, what would that look like? Or if you wanted to be charitable, what are your parameters? So we basically tell people what the speed limits are. Mm-hmm. We say, look, there's a 50 zone here, there's a 100 zone here. In other words, these are your abilities. And a lot of people who are, like I said, business owners, they're deep in their business, and they just need to get an answer, or they need to get a direction. And sometimes, there's different types of accountants. Like, someone says, oh, my accountant's really good, great. But your accountant doesn't give tax advice, and they don't charge you for it. In other words, you're paying them for preparation and filing. You're not paying them for tax advisory. Oh, I guess that makes sense. So don't be upset with them because they didn't tell you what to do, because that's not what they do. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of times people are asking us those simple questions, like, is my accountant any good? Absolutely. But their partner or someone that's in their firm needs to talk to you about planning, not that person, because that person is just for year ends or GST or whatever aspect you're looking at. So we have a lot of experience just by the virtue of working with people. So, and we want to share that. Like I said, we want to make Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, we want to share our knowledge, share our connections, and we want to help business prosper, and we want to help people realize their efforts when they retire and eventually transition out of their business, maximize their value.
Yeah, and I'm trying to come at this again as a business owner. What are people thinking as they're tuning in, as they're listening to this conversation, as they're kind of sitting here at the table with us, who know they need some help?
Let's start with the basics. It'll be something as simple as, have you ever sat down with a financial advisor? Do you even know what the experience
for your
is like?
Business and your
do you even know what the experience is like?
Yeah, because there are some that haven't, for sure.
And there's many that haven't. And then it becomes, how about you spend an hour? Just an hour of time just to learn what a financial advisor may be able to do for you. And then you could take it from there to see if you'll have value from that conversation.
Right. Mm-hmm. Being self-employed and working with self-employed individuals, our hours are not 9 to 5. So we often work in the evenings. We try to avoid the weekends, please, but we do a lot of evening work. So a lot of folks are like, I'm just really busy, or my day starts at 7. Well, okay, we'll call you at 6:30, or we'll drop by with a coffee and we'll go over that with you and just show you how it's a lot less complicated than you think. Mm-hmm. Okay. But like I said, we do a lot of evening work, and I guess that affords me to take a morning off if it's nice out. But we understand business owners have unique needs. So, we cater to that as much as possible. We also we offer people online. So if people want to have a Teams call or a Zoom call, that's perfectly acceptable with us. Mm-hmm. I actually have a client that we've never actually physically met in person. I think if we saw him in person,
onboarded during the pandemic or something.
Exactly. We'd probably scare him if I told him we wanted to see him in person. But yeah, he's very comfortable with working online, and he's in Ontario. We do work with people across the country. So some of our business owners are say Ontario based, and we work with them, and they're just as comfortable working online. So we do offer that. We meet in person. We, our main office is in the Halifax Shopping Centre in Halifax. So we have a lot of meetings there. But I'd say probably 40 to 60% of our meetings can often be at workplace. So we will travel to see our clients at their, and we want to get a feel. Like, how can we really understand you if we haven't put safety glasses on and my steel-toed composite toes and walked around your warehouse? Like, if we don't really know what you're doing, we want to see it. So we'd rather meet people at their workplace than their home, to be frank, so we can see what they're faced with every day. Yeah,
well, I'm sure that's part of the that's a piece of what it is that you do. That makes it exciting and interesting and invigorating, as you get to learn about these different businesses, right? Where you're helping with this one part that's so essential, but you get to learn about these services that they're providing. It could be like any number of things, right? It keeps.
Yeah. And we want people to understand, like, look beyond the fancy suit. I mean, we're just regular people like you. We're no different, right? We don't talk about how many degrees we have in our education. We're certified financial planners. We're CFPs and in good standing, obviously. But we don't need to talk about designations and degrees and all that. That's not important. What's important is that we understand you, we understand your business, we understand what your needs are. And once we understand what your needs are, then, all you need to know is that we're qualified to do what we do. We've got a great track record, we're highly experienced, but none of that matters. What matters is that you're comfortable to talk to us and tell us what's on your mind. And again, there's never a silly question, never, it just makes us feel smart, I guess, if we know the answer, right?
Yeah.
But again, if we don't know the answer, we'll get back to you with that very quickly. So
yeah, I think what excites us, with our media platform being partnered with this vertical of, financial advising, and bringing that to our audience, to this industry, is that it is a problem that needs to be solved for a lot of businesses, especially there's certain ones, again, that the value level is much, much higher. We're talking about large firms that are,
Sure.
we're talking here about local companies. There's a local element here. Even people that I would say are colleagues, not just acquaintances. I'm thinking of that, I want them to sit down with you guys, and why not you guys? I mean, there's other people sure that they could sit down with, but, what with the experience level, with the motives, you're wanting to reach this industry because, you've both reached a point in your careers and that you've reached that level of success. You want to give back. You want to plug into more clients within our industry because it's a cornerstone of not just the economy here, but the culture. And it's there's a lot of growth and activity there in this industry, but that's also going to mean that there's a lot of people that are in over their heads. There's a lot of people that sometimes when you have problems and you're navigating life or business, you don't know what the next step is, and sometimes there's a number of things that need to happen, but sometimes the one thing maybe that someone needs is it's not just about the financial returns. It's the mental energy the peace of mind that comes in once they start to talk with you, and all of a sudden their energy's freed up to deal with this other problem and these other problems, and then things start to go from just getting a little bit better to all of a sudden, there's like a whole new vision that comes clear, right? So sometimes, like, these problems that you don't understand how much this is weighing you down because your financial situation is kind of just all over the place. It's kind of just splattered everywhere, and it's not tightened up, and it's not. And you've spent the last couple of years like 30% less productive because this big part of your business and your mind is not. Right. These are serious issues, right? This is stress that continues if it's not dealt with, right? Definitely. But a lot of people just have to sit down and start the conversation, right?
Yeah. Business in Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, even the country, small business, medium, large, but more smaller businesses, because that's our demographic. I mean, the average size of a company in Canada is less than 3 people, right? I mean,
I didn't know that. Right?
Yeah, it's a startling statistic, but I mean. Again, you think of the big companies, only have 20,000 employees, but there's not that many of them. Okay, so basically, business drives our future. If we want to be cared for when we're elderly, or people need to be employed, right? We need to create employment. We need to, money needs to move around. So, what our objective has always been: leave this place with an impact, like leave this world with a positive contribution. Right? Whether you leave money to charity, or whether you leave money to family, or whether you create jobs while you're here, or whether you enhance people's living experience if you renovate their homes. Everybody's doing something important. Everybody's doing something important, no matter how small and insignificant it may seem. So our objective is to efficientize or add efficiencies to anyone that we think we can help. Now, a lot of times, again, we may not be the ones to execute that, but people can run it by us and we can point them in the right direction. So yes, you're going in the right direction. Keep doing that. We've seen that before, and just keep going that way. You'll get there. Sometimes a little bit of a push. But again, our objective is, like I said, to make people understand, hey, we're all in the same situation. we've all grown a business. We've all matured a business. We all have to sell. Like all these things, we've all gone through it together. Mm-hmm. So that's why our business does very well, because again, being self-employed, building our own business, working with business owners, that's the business that we understand. Mm-hmm. So,
and it does, I want to draw a thread on just the mentality shift, I think, within our industry locally, maybe more so, of the more collaborative approach to business, to contracting, to construction. The kind of dictatorship mentality that you might have seen more so in the older generation from the baby boomers and on and on. Like now it's a lot more like we need to come together. We need a win-win situation. And that's what your motive is here, right? We need to sit down and we want you to win. We only win if you win. And if that's the case with all these relationships, then everybody wants to win and everyone's headed in the same, toward the same goal.
That's right. We want to share our knowledge and have it applied where it's going to benefit the most amount of people, have the most impact. So that's why we sort of shifted, I think, to work almost exclusively now with business owners, really, is because that's the engine. That's really what's going to keep things going. And again, if we have knowledge, we want to share it, or we want to direct people to where they need to go. We want to efficientize. That's my word, efficientize, right size. We want to help people maximize, get the most out of their efforts as possible.
I've always thought of it as a lot of these businesses are scattered throughout rural Nova Scotia. And they may have 5 employees, 10 employees, 15 employees. If anything happens to that business, it hurts the community. Yeah. So, we want to do our best to make sure that these are long-standing businesses. They pass on correctly, that they stay within the community, and they're successful within those communities. And that's one of our kind of internal goals of, when we're talking to people, is to make sure that these things last, because again, a lot of rural areas have been hurt hard, and we want to make sure that they're still there, these small towns and stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. They're right. They are staples in the community. Yeah. And you could take the biggest example of that, in the downtown core of HRM, like where I'm not going to start to mention companies, but there's companies that people just don't hear about in rural Nova Scotia that don't live there, geographically, but anyone who lives there, if it was to disappear.
I'll give you an example, and it was many years ago. Peter was highly involved in this. Was Bowater Mersey down on the South Shore when they closed? It's a huge plant, and all sorts of people all of a sudden were unemployed, and they needed advice. It's one of the reasons Peter's got an office in Liverpool. It was talking to a lot of these people that were coming out of Bowater and saying, what are your options, and discussing, will you be okay, and such, because we realize the impact in a community. So
I was thinking, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, funny you mentioned Liverpool, but that's just, a little bit about what we do. But we have an office in Liverpool, and it's a community conference center. So it's sort of open to people that want to use our boardroom or whatever. It's complimentary. They can use it for different things. And most municipalities now have rural transits. In the valley, you've got King's Transit and Point to Point and different places. So on the South Shore, there's a Queen's Transit, Point to Point Transit. I think they charge, they try to collect some revenue from their passengers, but it's all government funded, obviously. Yeah. And anyway, we provide them with free space. So they have parking, internet, Wi-Fi, heat lights, and 800 square feet, and they use that complimentary. So we want to get back. So there's lots of little things like that we do, and they can stay there as long as they can. So 10, 20 years, who knows? So we do want to get back. And like I said, but I think it's a collaborative effort, if businesses, and a lot of times we've connected some businesses with other businesses too. We've said, look, you're struggling in this area. Here's another business that, kind of complements you. You may want to talk to that person. So sometimes it's just having those strange conversations and who knows who. But again, we want to leave this place as a better place. And there are struggles, like I said, with demographics, retirements. There's struggles with wages, salaries, and the biggest one I think is labor shortages and skill shortages. So, we want to try to encourage people to, Aaron's involved in some different things, but we try to bring youth, and we don't want our kids or our future. They're our future. They're today, and we want to bring those people in. So, like I said, having small businesses succeed and continue to operate, or flourish is our mainstay.
Yeah, and as you're talking, and as Aaron mentioned about this situation where these people were going through a tumultuous time, and there's the fear of what's going to happen, what we're going to do. And I was thinking about our province here in Nova Scotia, and Atlantic, it's Atlantic Construction Podcast, and our industry specifically, but think of what's been happening, especially this past year with just the natural disasters and the fires and floods. And, I was drawing a thread with what you mentioned earlier, Peter, about, long-term relationships in business, using the analogy of marriage, right? It's you want to be able to have those tough conversations and fight it out in a healthy way. And that's going to make us better. But there's a stat, I think, in the North American Psychological Association of I think the number one leading cause of divorce, right, is financial problems.
That's
and
right.
Just the anxiety and fear and these strong emotions that financial problems cause. You mentioned the fear that was around that, and transitions. What's going to happen? Am I going to have enough money? People just lost their homes in the floods here.
Yep.
And they're wondering still, is my insurance going to cover it? How long it's going to take to repair? Is it even going to be able to be repaired? Is it, so, business owners, they're really essentially what they're doing is they're owning that risk. They're taking on that anxiety. That's why they're CEO, or that's why they're founder. That's why so they've got a heavier burden to carry, in some regards.
Yep, definitely.
But there's a lot of inner battles. There's a lot of people out there that are listening right now, or that are in our industry or any industry that are, they're hurting people.
Yeah.
And then financially, they're not sure what's going to happen, and they're living with that every day, and they don't have the help they need. And there's all kinds of problems around it. And, it's a big deal. These things weigh on people's mentally, emotionally. It's so taxing, right? It destroys relationships in business and families.
I'll tell you,
it's important work that you're doing. That's what I'm trying to say. Long-winded.
I'll give you one example where it's you really see the emotional side of it. Last year, we had, I think it was 8 clients that passed away, and which is more than we've ever had in any one year.
I was going to say 8.5, but no.
Yeah.
8, yeah.
But every time that happened, some of them, we knew the people were ill. They may have been elderly, whatever. Some came as complete surprises. And the emotional side of helping their families get through all of that, because then it's like, oh my God, what has happened? How do I handle it? They're dealing with grief, but then the financial side hits, and they're going, I don't even know what the first steps are I should be taking.
Right.
And we'll walk them through, because everybody's throwing advice at them and telling them what they should do or shouldn't do or whatever. And it's like, just pause. Let's work through this. What makes the most sense for you? And there's, from a number of these people, they were long-term clients. Like, we were really close to them. They were like family. We were at the funerals. We were at,
Really?
We knew the spouse, we knew the children, we knew, and we're showing up, and, we're grieving as well, but we're trying to put our professional hat on and saying, we'll walk you through this. Like, we're going to hold your hand and, give you a hug and, help you through the process. And that's where we really see like that whole emotional side really kick in when a life-changing event has occurred,
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at with making those statements is, one's relationship with money in general.
Yes.
As an individual, as a human being, as a business owner,
Oh, yeah.
as a person who also has a family, dependents. There's a strong pull, and not everybody's relationship with money is as healthy as it should be in different ways, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot there to draw out, you know, and
And sometimes it's even talking to people who feel they have everything done perfectly. You know, I think of one client at the time, he said, no, I got everything, really don't need to talk to you. And I said, well, I wonder why so-and-so said I should talk to you, you know, and he said, well, probably because I got everything done perfectly right. And I said, well, that's awesome. I said, but let me take a look at it now that we're here. And I said, you know, enjoy your coffee. And I said, let's take a quick run at things. And anyway, I pointed out something to him about his insurance, and it was significant. Anyway, he ended up passing away. And I think the hardest day of my life was handing the $750,000 check to his wife. And she said, well, what do I do with this money? I said, it doesn't matter what you do with it. What matters is that you're going to be okay. I said, your husband made the right decisions, and, you know, he had proper insurance, and everything's going to go well, you know. And she said, you know, oh, you brought this insurance check. And I said, well, yeah, it was just something that your husband had overlooked, and I corrected it. And she said, so you're saying if you hadn't looked at this, I wouldn't have this check? And I said, well, sure, I guess. Yeah. You know, and that provided her with a lot of financial support through her life. And that's that means she doesn't have to rely on her kids. She can, you know, and it was just a small oversight on her husband's part. And again, he's a successful business owner, or he was before he died, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not an insurance expert. Like he didn't know that.
No.
So a lot of times just by looking at things, we can point out some things. And he said to me at the time, he's like, oh yeah, you just want to sell me insurance. And we joked about it. And I said, yes, I do make a commission. You know, I said, no matter where you go for the insurance, someone has to be paid. And he said, well, I don't mind paying you because you pointed it out. It's probably something it's not really costing me any more money. And the way we were arranging things, it's actually cheaper to put this insurance in place, and we did. But so anyway, we have several of those, and they're our toughest days delivering those insurance checks. But they're, you know, it's a good feeling when you know that someone's looked after, and you know that the person that's left this world isn't looking up at me saying, you know, hey, how come you didn't protect my family?
Yeah.
Right. So we that's important to us. Like that, you know, and a lot of times
looking down on you, hopefully.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But that's important, you know, that we've done our job, and that people, you know, a lot of times just things people don't think of, right? And they're so busy in their business that they just, I'll get to that, you know. And again, a lot of people don't have a will. They don't have, like, simple things, right? And they're not that hard to figure out. And sometimes it's just an obstacle. Well, I haven't asked this person to be my beneficiary yet, or my executor, or, you know, I haven't. So, okay, let's do that. A lot of times Aaron and I will say it to a client, your Christmas gift to your wife this year, or your husband, or same-sex partner, or whatever.
To get a will.
Yeah, is to get a will, power of attorney, healthcare directive. Because, I mean, and get that on file. So if you get wheeled into the QE2, they already know who to talk to and who's going to make those decisions. So a lot of these things that might scare people, they might seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult thing to do. And, like, obviously, if less than 50%
It's one of them
people,
things they just want us. I don't want to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
That's right. And the truth is, and again, I'm kind of a stats person, but it's somewhere around 50% of people don't have a will. Now, the reality of it is everybody has a will. It's written by the province. So the province decides what happens to your money. Well, is that important to you? And a lot of people don't realize how easy it is to get a will done. And I mean, it's really not that big of a deal for some people, but it gets put off. And again, all these little things that people carry around a backpack full of extra weight, you know, oh, geez, I should need to get that done. You know, let's talk about it. Let's help you. Let's get those things done. It's not that much downtime. Like I said, it increases productivity when you get all those things looked after.
I was going to say something as basic as a will. I can't tell you how many times I've said to a client, do you have a will? Yes. Does your executor know where it is? And they're like, I don't even know where it is.
No.
You
Who
know?
did my will? Was it
And
my
I'm
lawyer, or was it my...
No, exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, you're gone. You can't help them answer that question anymore. What do you think you're leaving behind?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, like you know, you're making a mess for that person to clean up, to try to find this document that may have been in your old house. Like, you know, like we have to get these things organized. Yeah. So we joke with people on some of this, but it's serious stuff, and, you know, and it'll have an impact on
it's
a lot
so
of people.
serious you got to joke about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a level of embarrassment too, like, for sometimes, you know, if things aren't going well in the business, or, you know, maybe do I even know if I have a will, or there is that kind of, like, you know, because it's finance, because it's such a key part of you know, even a person's dignity in some regards. Like, I don't want to reveal all this stuff. You know, I don't want anyone to see what's going on under the under the hood here,
Yeah.
it's not that great. So people have to kind of get over that too to get some help.
Yeah.
People have to realize that, and our listeners, you have to remember that.
Speaking for myself, I'm not talking to anybody else than myself. But.
People who are listening today, I mean, we can all improve. Aaron and I are constantly taking courses, upgrading our skills. We have continuing education. Like, we're always trying to stay ahead of things, right? And we enjoy it. It's what we like to do. So we have fun with it. But sometimes there's things where people just don't know where to start. Like for us, education's easy. Okay, here it's listed. Pick the courses you want to take.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy for us. But a lot of people, do they have a power of attorney? Do they have a will? Do they have an estate plan that's really going to work? Sometimes you talk to people, who's the executor? Oh, he's dead. I did my will 20 years ago. Well, don't be embarrassed about those things. But don't leave that to your family. Like that's not how you want your family to remember you. When you pass away, it's not a question of if. I mean, when you're young, when you're in your 20s or 30s, it's if I die. Well, when you reach a certain point, and that's always pivotal and different for everyone. Maybe it's 50.
I'm not going to be able to avoid that, am I?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mortality sets in.
Yes. But eventually you realize, hey, at some point I'm going to pass away. And the biggest thing that you can leave to your heirs or the people that are left behind you is leaving things done right, so they're stress-free, right? And that's probably one of the biggest things that we see. People think, oh, I got everything done. I'm like, yeah, no, there's one thing that you need to do, and we can help you do it. It's not that big of a task, but we need to have a proper estate plan, because that's you want things to go. I love it when I sit down with a client. I mean, I hate it when someone dies, but I love it when I get to sit down with the family and I say, this is probably going to be the easiest estate to administer possible. And they kind of look at me, they go, oh, really? Because it's just dad has all these businesses and mom had this business. And I'm like, no. We've got it all nailed down. And they're like, oh, like all you have to do is this. And they think, that's that easy? Like I'm the executor and you're telling me that's all I have to do? Yeah, because we did our job and we organized everything. And sometimes that's a huge relief for people because they know they're going to die at some point. Like you never know when. I mean, maybe you do, but
death and taxes.
But a lot of, exactly. So if we can quantify that stuff for you or help people reach that goal, that's what we want to do. We want to give people, again, we want people to run their businesses efficiently as possible. We want the standard of living in our country, more specifically in our communities, but we want the standard of living to be maintained. Like we see a lot of problems now. You look at like dozens of countries around the world in turmoil right now. I mean, there's coups going on, there's gangs, there's violence. It's unbelievable, right?
Wars.
And huge wars and stuff that's never going to get resolved. Like countries that are going to be in conflict in perpetuity. So that's probably my only fear in life is, hey, what can we do to protect ourselves, right? Immigration is awesome. We're bringing lots of people in here and new skills, and that's great. But we need to keep the focus on employment. We need to keep, if people want jobs, we gotta provide them, right? And as small business owners, you might think you only have 1 or 2 employees, you're not contributing. Yeah, you're the backbone of the country, right? So
very good point.
We want
what is a big company?
That's right. The whole country.
What do you mean by big, right? I mean,
exactly.
Maybe 3 employees, but
then those 3 employees shop at another institution or a store. Like we're all integrated. And sometimes people think my business is not that important. Well, it is. Everything is important. Every little bit. I think of it like a steam locomotive. I'm intrigued by trains, but a steam locomotive, this 500-ton beast rolling down the track. And if one little bearing overheats and fails, then it stops the entire train. There's a derailment or
it's like the ecosystem, right? You take this species that no one ever thinks about and the reptile, whatever, and then it affects every single part of the life cycle, right?
You warm the degree of the ocean, you warm it up So the reality of it is you can't worry about the things that you can't control. You worry about the things that you can't control. You worry about the things that you can have an impact on that you don't do anything about. Yeah. And if you don't know where to start and it's somewhat financial related, then reach out. And I just want to reiterate the point. Yeah, sure, call us, text us, email us, get a hold of us somehow. That's fine. But we always recommend that people that talk to us talk to lots of people. Say, look, get a second, third, fourth opinion. Like the more that you talk to more people, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to gain.
Yeah, your reputation is everything.
That's right. Yeah. So we can't help everybody. We can't be everyone's advisor, right? I mean, admittedly. So we can recommend other people but bounce it off somebody. Like, you don't have to talk to us, talk to anybody. But I mean, you do want to look at professional experience. I mean, you want to say, is someone a certified, a chartered accountant, or are they just an accountant? Do they call themselves an accountant and they're a bookkeeper? Right. I mean, you need to do a little research there. And when you are getting professional advice, make sure that person is qualified to give that advice.
And I think what's exciting for us at Atlantic Construction Media with this is an intro. This is a podcast based around financial advisors and who Freeman Financial is, Peter Freeman and Aaron Dressler. But our attempts with this partnership to reach the people that can use this assistance. And
that's right.
From you specifically, but there'll be future educational content that we'll be focusing on. It might be estate planning, might be tax, it might be succession, it might be insurance, it could be any number of things, and we'll have more content, more podcast episodes, various marketing content coming out on the financial front that we hope that is beneficial to business owners that are tuning in,
that's right,
that need that help, and then in turn they'll connect, and we'll see these relationships happen in the future that are needed and are going to be a big help for a lot of people that we're there to advocate for. We're passionate about this industry, right? And so it's going to help people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So,
and because we can't be all things to all people, even if after this call or this podcast, you reach out to somebody else or your own financial advisor or your financial institution, that's what we want. That makes our day. So you don't have to call us. You just need to take action and reach out to a professional or people that you need to help. So if you think you need to get your will done and a lawyer, or you have a client or an affiliation with a lawyer, you worked on their house or whatever, talk to them. So don't be shy. Everybody started out, at the same place, but our objective is for everyone to do better. So we want to see you benefit. You spent time listening to us today. Take action. Talk to someone. Make those things happen.
Any final comments, Aaron?
No, I think Peter said it all.
That's a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for connecting with us, engaging with us. Our partnerships mean a lot to us. This is an important service for a lot of our audience and for our industry in many regards. So this is exciting. It's good to have podcast one with Freeman Financial recorded, and we look forward to lots of future content. And it's been a great conversation today.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'd like to thank our longtime sponsor, Cook Insurance. Cook is your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. The Cook team opens up opportunities for contractors by proactively managing the requirements of their bond facility. They expand levels of support and negotiate preferred rate, all while prioritizing ease of doing business. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered. The team at Atlantic Construction Podcast has been able to build a strong relationship with the folks at FCA Surety. FCA Surety is strongly invested in supporting the Atlantic construction marketplace and helping contractors to build their businesses. We highly recommend them.